My name is Elizabeth DeCroos, and this is Ebony Studio, my home workshop in Ontario, Canada. And today I'm going to give you a behind the scenes tour. So if you see me on YouTube or if you take a workshop, this is what you normally see, but here's what's behind the camera. So if I back up, there you can see my table, my backdrop, but I could keep backing up quite a bit because I don't have a fourth wall in this studio. This is open to my house. And in fact, if I look that way, you can see my kitchen. And because I'm also a mom with 4 kids, that means I'll be able to keep an eye on what's going on, even when I'm working. But let's take a closer look at what's here in the studio. On this wall, I have a little embroidery wall. There's some rulers. This is a picture. It's a quilt that my daughter designed for me, but she doesn't sew. So that's just drawn on paper, and that's my 4 kids. And then down here, there's a project I'm working on. And then there's some quilt tops waiting to be quilted, sadly. There's a little ongoing project. That's my leader and ender project. And there's just my little tiny scraps that I'll put together and use for stuffing. There's just some other bigger scraps, some hoops, sewing machine. And I really like my table because here I have a large cutting mat, and then beside it is a large pressing surface. So this whole thing is for pressing. And when we come around here, we can see the backdrop for my videos. So this first cupboard, it has all quilting fabric, and it's vaguely sorted by color or by type, depends on what I'm working on. And the middle section has a bunch more little bins for organizing different things. And then if you look down here, we can see there's strips that are sorted by size. And then in the last cupboard, I have some more batik fabric, and then a bunch of linen and embroidery fabric, and then a whole lot of embroidery thread that's in there. And then on this wall, we can see I have a large window. I love the light that it comes in, but sometimes if you see my videos, you might see reflections on those glass doors, and that's from these big windows. So you can look for that, see if you see branches blowing or something like that. Because I love the light that it comes in, but it is natural light, so it's not as easy to control as these lights. These are lights for my videos when I'm making them. And then there's just more storage over there, my tripod. And then on the table, that little black arm, that's just an arm that I can put my camera in for doing top-down displays, so I can show you exactly what I'm doing when I'm stitching. And I do just store it there. That's the easiest place rather than trying to take it off the table. So a couple things that are special and personal to me is, first of all, this little diorama. That's a diorama of my workshop that my daughter made for me for Mother's Day the one year. And then in front of it, these are Korean ducks. They would traditionally be used as part of a wedding ceremony, but I purchased them when my husband and I went to Korea for our anniversary. That's just another tribute to the Korean influence in my work and how much I enjoy that country, even though I'm not Korean. And then over on this wall, we can see 2 embroidery pieces. So these were canvas work, tapestry embroidery, and they were done by my grandmother, and they were done in the 1970s, but I used to just stand and look at them in her house and try and figure out how all the stitches were done. And so I was lucky enough to be able to inherit them when she died. Thanks for joining me in my studio. I hope you've enjoyed this little peek of what's behind the scenes. And I know how lucky I am to be able to have a space like this to work in. For a long time, all the sewing I did was either at my kitchen table or at a little table in the corner of my bedroom. So I do really appreciate this space, but I also know that you can be creative no matter what kind of space you have to work in. So I hope that you enjoy making beautiful things in whatever space you have.
Well, we've just had a chance to look at Elizabeth's beautiful studio, and now we have her here with us so that we can ask a few questions. The one I always start with is it always as tidy as we just saw in the video?
No, it's not at all always this tidy. However, because I am right like out in public in my house, it does force me to keep it cleaner than I probably would if it was somewhere I could shut the door and walk away.
Right, because you mentioned you've got four kids running
Yes.
around at the same time, and so it must be fascinating. And like, is it challenging at all to have the family going on around you while you're working?
Sometimes, I mean, luckily they're not little kids anymore. When we first put it here, they range in age from 8 to 17, but now they're all like in their early 20s or close to 20s. So now they're more in and out, like getting something to eat. So it's not as distracting as if they were really little, but it lets me keep an eye on them and I can still kind of be really involved because they know they can just come and talk to me anytime.
Yeah, no,
So yeah,
yeah.
if I'm recording, I have to say, "Hey, I'm recording. Don't come in and make popcorn." But other than that, I like to be in the middle of things where I can see everybody.
Absolutely. No, I think that's lovely that it's integrated into family life. And you mentioned that there are a few things around that your kids had made as well, including that beautiful diorama of your studio,
Oh
which I
yes,
thought was so
there's yeah,
clever.
yeah.
I know. And then just above that, I noticed that you've got a jar of thread. So
Mm-hmm.
what's going on there?
So that is just a jar. So anytime if I'm doing embroidery or some kind of stitching and I have a little piece of thread left and it's big enough you could do something with it, I'll just throw it in there for storage. And then if I'm looking for a little piece, I can go through there instead of having to go back to the skein and take a new piece off. They're just little pieces I can use
Oh,
for
fascinating.
yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's very yeah, very resourceful to keep them like that. I know that when I do embroidery, I'll often have like, sort of 6 or 8 inches or something, and it's enough to do a
Yeah.
few stitches with, but not
Yes.
necessarily, yeah, it's a bit of an issue about whether to keep it or not. And of course, I want to talk about your embroidery, but first, let's continue talking about what's behind you. You've got those scrap bins just underneath the diorama
Yes.
with the pink lids, and are those saved by size? I see
Those
inches.
are saved by size, yes. So they're strips or part of strips that are like 1.5 inches or 2 inches. So yeah, those ones are not sorted by color. They're sorted by size because they're just left over from what's been cut. And I
Mhm.
do have other bins that are sorted by color, but those aren't any specific size.
Okay, and so the ones that are sorted by size, those are all strips.
They're strips, or sometimes from a pattern, like if I have a 2.5 inch strip and I only use part of it, then I'll
Mhm.
just throw the rest in here instead of into sorting by color.
Oh, that's an excellent idea. Okay, it's always fascinating how everybody sorts their scraps. And in fact, I'm just working on a quiz at the moment about that. But okay, and then the other ones, is there like a minimum size that you'll keep, or do you keep, all the bits?
So the smallest size I have here is 1.5 inches. If I have something like a strip, if it's bigger than kind of 3/4 an inch, I'll keep it for strings, for string
Mhm.
projects. Um, I keep things pretty small, like, and I don't know if I should, but maybe around 2 inches square. And then I
Yeah,
look at it, it's like, oh, should I keep it? I don't know.
that's my minimum size is 2.5 inches square, unless it's like really precious.
Yes,
And
yes.
then I've got a bag for like teeny tiny bits. But 2.5 inches square is the size you need for a 1 inch hexagon if you're English paper piecing. So that's my justification for that. And then we've mentioned your embroidery. And those ones from your grandmother are just amazing.
Oh,
Having
yes,
those on
yes.
the wall,
I love
that's so
those. And I
special.
have just such memories. And I think it's embroidery, but it's also geometric kind of
Mm.
quilting um, style. So, yes, I just have memories of those as a kid. So I was really glad that I got those.
Yeah, no, they're absolutely beautiful and in such good condition as well. And it's so evocative to think of you looking at them as a kid and working out the stitches. I know I would do the same thing with embroideries in books and so on, scavenging the library. And you embroider yourself as well. What
Yes,
kind of
yes, I do.
things do you do?
Um, I'll try anything. I call it maker attention deficit, that I want to make
Oh,
all the
yeah,
things,
yeah.
which I think a lot of people have that.
Hmm.
But I usually do usually simple embroidery, and I like to integrate my embroidery in with quilting. So I'll put
Right, I
embroidery
wanted
like
to
in a
ask.
quilt block or something like that.
Yes, because I know you from the kind of Korean style quilts that you do.
Yes,
That
yes.
you will incorporate embroidery in. And would you like kind of embroider a square and then frame it or something and put it into a block? Or are we talking like kind of crazy quilt type embroidery?
Usually I would embroider a square and then put it into a block. Um, yeah, crazy quilting. I haven't taken that leap yet, but every time I see a crazy quilt, I look at it. I'm like, oh, this looks fun. So,
Right.
so I won't
I'm
say
in
I
the
wouldn't do
same situation. Yeah. And I kind of, yeah, anyway, we won't talk about that. But
it.
yeah, wonderful. And the other thing I really liked is just in your setup, you've got your main table, which is a great size, and then you've got a separate pressing table. And
Yes,
you've got one of those wool mat, oh, I think two of those wool mats
yes.
that have been very popular recently. What kind of difference do you feel it brings using the wool mat as opposed to a kind of more conventional ironing board?
Um, One thing that's nice with the wool mat is it's firm, but it's a little bit softer. So especially if you were pressing something with embroidery, it
Mm,
gives a little bit of give for the stitches.
yes.
Um, so that's something. And then if you want to block something or make it a specific size, you can pin right into it to kind of hold your
Oh,
whatever 12 and a
perfect.
half inches. You can put pins in and then press it to make it the size that you want.
Sorry, I'm coughing away. There's construction going on outside and it's all dusty. Yes, that's a brilliant idea. Do you know, because I have one and have used it variously over the last couple of years and just recently managed to scorch a section of it, which of course
Oh.
looks very unattractive now, but not to worry. But it hadn't occurred to me to do the blocking on it, but of course it's perfect for that. Well, thank you so much. This has been amazing. I'm so enjoyed seeing your space. Where can people find you and bring you in for lectures and guilds or to follow your newsletters and sign up for classes?
So my main website is epidastudio.com, and that's EPIDA studio.com.
Excellent, and that will be in the notes, the video notes on YouTube as well. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. It's been great.
Oh, thank you. It's been great for the opportunity.
Hi everyone, Laureen Smith from Tourmaline in Time Quilts here, and I am introducing you to my lovely studio, which is in my house here. You can hear my little friends in the background there, so let's go on in and say hello. They're dying to meet you. So as we walk in, you're seeing my Winter Whispers. It really is sitting in my front hallway. And I'm going to introduce you to my two friends. There's Fergus. He really is that big. And then on the other side here, we have Miss Rigby, his little sister. So they're my constant companions. Now, half of the studio here is in the basement. The other half is upstairs. So let me take it to the business end first, which is downstairs. That's where every pattern I send you gets printed from. We do print everything on demand here. So this is the last stop your patterns see before they come to you. Okay, the business end of things is not a really pretty place here, but we do hang a quilt here every so often just to keep the atmosphere going. So I have 3 printers that I print from here. As you can see, we try and keep things rolling pretty well. And a lot of our stuff when we're printing, we keep lots of extra stuff, but we try and sort everything into our lovely bins here. So These kind of bins are great, not just for printing patterns, but if you've got works in progress, they are fantastic for just holding stuff so it's not totally out of sight or totally out of mind. Now we're headed upstairs, which is where all the real fun happens. So this is my fabric storage. I do have a lot of fabrics in house, as you can tell. I really do love batiks. And I have found some unique solutions. I do keep some of my not quite finished projects yet in bins. I know, plastic, everybody says don't. This is my list of UFOs that I still, most of which have to finish quilting, but I have them at least neatly stacked on a rack so that they're a constant reminder of what I still have to do. And I have found that gift boxes, like the kinds you get at Christmas, are great for smaller projects so that you can keep them closed up. And I use everything, including salad containers here, for things like my small scraps if I'm going to do a crumb quilt or something along those lines. So use whatever containers you kind of can come up with. As you can see, I even use box tops to hold things. Now what you're seeing here is basically my board for when I'm putting up my blocks. It's just a simple, my son made this for me. It's got some wooden angles around it, so kind of framing materials like you would use if you're doing any sort of finishing work. Those are foam core boards on the back, just like you would use for insulation. And we just took a piece of really large piece of flannel and basically stapled it to the back. So that's what I've been using for several years. I'm looking for an upgrade, but it works for now. And now we're walking into the studio where most of this stuff happens. I do have my stereo here so I can listen to my books on tape, as well as, the holiday time when I really need to groove, put on some music that helps me out. Quilt you see in the back there, that is Bespectacled. And we have Snowflake Whimsy. Now, this couch here, occasionally I sit there, but that's usually where Fergus or Rigby is hanging out until I'm done. Now, often you have heard me talk about the fact that I have a dresser full of notions. I am really not kidding. That dresser has been outfitted for many years by those, buy one, get one free coupons from Joann's back when we had those. So I have all sorts of notions, from beads to buttons to ribbons to markers. So drawers, if you've got an extra dresser, is great. And this little guy here, this was my inheritance from my mom. Those are all her threads that we've put neatly into this lovely little stack here. And what you see here is, yes, I am a ruler collector. Those are all the rulers for my long arm. That crate works perfectly to just stand them up and make them easy to get to. Now, as with most long armers, we tend to use under our long arm for storage. And you can see I have here a whole bunch of colored bins, and these are the scraps that I'm using for different quilts. So example, here's one, I have it labeled purple. It's the one I have pulled out right now for one of the quilts I'm working on. But purple is great. And I use some old bookshelves to hold all of the rest of the notions, and I've been slowly going through them and trying to pare them down. Now, the long arm doesn't have a lot of room behind it. Thankfully, I'm tiny. But we also have here, that's the Winter Whispers coat that I've been wearing. I store some of my pillows under here, as well as a lot of my extra batting. So my extra batting, the small pieces, all kind of go in this little bin down here so that I can use my quote unquote Franken batting. And anything that I'm using from a standpoint of bolts or whatnot that I cut often or use often, I just set in this little bin right here. It's fantastic for making it easy to get to, since the round tubes don't like to sit really easily on a shelf. And if you're wondering where all my rulers hide, they're hiding in the closet with another dresser that's full of fat quarters. So all of my fat quarters and my jelly rolls sit in this. I have years worth of that I've been hiding. And then we have the fabric stash that I pull from when I'm usually doing some of my test blocks. Over here, we have my makeshift, this is a TV tray that I basically put a one of the Steady Betty metal foam metal things and put a piece of the pressed wool mat on it to make a little station, along with my goddess sheet, and then there's another one under there. So that's my little station. Here is my main machine. I have another one hiding under the long arm and another one under a bed, mostly because I haven't had room to set it up yet. I do a lot of my cutting here, and I do some of my design work up here, and I have 2 screens to make that easier. And this is my new pride and joy, which is my new Sew Tights cutting station. What I love about it, it's a little bit bigger. Now, a lot of quilts I work on, I need a little bit of extra room as I'm laying them out. So what I have found here, as you can see, is I take an ironing board and set it at the same height as my table, which makes it easy to kind of slide things back and forth. I can iron it and then slide it back to do any cutting or trimming I need. So with that, I hope you have enjoyed the tour of my studio here, and I hope that you'll tune in to watch all sorts of the fun videos we have. Right now, what I'm working on, as you can see here, there's the Quilting You Say. It's a fusible applique quilt that we're working on, and this is the background we're putting it on. So hopefully you'll join us. It's free quilt along.
Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed that amazing tour with bonus dogs added in. And here we are with Laureen Smith. Wonderful to have you with us. Hello.
Hello there.
So I've got so many questions after watching the video. One of the ones that occurred to me straight away when I saw all those bolts of fabric in the basement in like the business area, those aren't your personal stash, right? You sell those.
Well, yes and no. And they're not, believe it or not, they're not downstairs. They're upstairs.
Sorry.
Better for storage because there's no moisture in it. So they're in an isolated room. They took over an entire bedroom in my house.
Wow.
And I initially started collecting, because I use a lot of batiks in my kits. And it then got to be I'm limited. So I just started buying more, and now I sell yards of fabric. It was originally to satisfy my own need to have like every color under the rainbow, but I do sell them.
That's amazing, because I do a lot of dyeing, and so I have bought a bolt of white Kona cotton, but to have all those in the house must be so tempting sometimes to go in.
Oh, it is. And my assistant who keeps track of the inventory loves to slap my hand every so often when she goes into the inventory. She's like, why are we missing 3 yards? I'm like, oh, it was in that project over there. She's like,
that's so funny. And of course, you've got these 2 beautiful dogs as well, brother and sister.
Yeah. So my newfies.
Just amazing. I mean, certainly my little 10-pound cat doesn't compare, but she loves to sit on quilts. And I was wondering, I saw the sofa and the couch in your studio. Did the dogs try and sit on the quilts as well?
Yes. So when my husband's traveling for work, the dogs decide they're going to take his place. And then some. So my little girl is 120 pounds. My big boy is 165 pounds. So she almost outweighs me. He definitely outweighs me. So I have a gorgeous quilt. In fact, the one everybody loves, Sweet Tea, is on my bed. But nobody can see it because I have another blanket over it. Not so much because I'm worried about dirty paws, because I clean their paws when they come in, but black fur on a white quilt adds one thing,
yeah.
but nothing means drool. And I don't want to wash it that often. They do love it. I mean, if my guy gets a chance, he'll start pulling it down off the bed on me so that he can sleep on the floor. Yeah.
That's so sweet, because of course the quilts pick up our scent as we're making them.
Oh, they do.
So that's why my cat loves sitting on them.
Well, they just love to be with me. So I'm sitting here at my little quilting cubby, and what most people don't see, and anybody who watches my videos occasionally sees me start to move like this, is that especially Rigby, the little one, likes to crawl underneath. And so she starts pushing my chair out of the way. If he gets in there, he's even worse. And I have had them both under there while I'm attempting to quilt. So, I feel like Elastigirl with my arms hanging way, way out to try and reach the sewing machine. She's not as bad as he is, because he will all of a sudden get tired and go, poof, and his head inevitably is on the pedal. And it's like, oh, there went my sewing.
I'm like, well, I'll be playing a little bit with my seam ripper. Thank you, Fergus.
Oh wow. Gosh, the unknown perils of
Oh
having a
yeah.
large dog.
And if I'm long arming, they lay right in the path of where I'm walking. So
Oh,
it's like an obstacle course, your balance routine. So it's, like one leg on either side of a dog as I'm trying to go.
oh,
You know,
so it's a real family affair, the
oh, it
business.
is a total
The dog's
family
very
affair.
involved.
Total family affair. They want to be right in the middle of it.
Well,
And they're forbidden from getting in the fabric room. That is
uh,
the rule. They are not allowed in. It's like, no, no, no.
yeah,
Stay away from that. So they're
no,
not allowed in there.
yeah. The challenge of pet hair when you're got something you're trying to sell is
Yeah.
real.
The door is constantly closed. If they see it open, I'm like, no.
Well, I know you're in your studio right now, and one of the things I wanted to comment on is not a question, but what a great idea it was to put your ironing board at the same level as the table. Because my ironing board is over here, my table is under a mess, but it's over here, and I'm like, oh, that's a good
Oh yeah.
idea. Let's bring those together.
So the one of the quilts you see that hanging is bespectacled. When I was putting that one together, and I have a lot of they're with the fabric quilts,
Mm,
which makes them nice because they're small enough so that you'll get them done, or at least have a fighting chance. But they're too big to fit just on your ironing board. So you can lay them out. And if it's even bigger, I'll go down to the dining room table. But I always put that there so I can lay it out. And then I just slowly drag it, fuse it, drag it, fuse it. It works out perfectly. I was like, oh, this is even better. Because then you're not worried about it moving when you're trying to keep it in place, right? And
absolutely.
nobody has a fusing. Well, okay, maybe somebody has a fusing mat that big, like in a big wool mat. I don't.
Mm.
So yeah, that's how I do it. I just leave it there. It works great.
Lovely. And I know you do a lot of fused applique and the 3D applique
Yeah,
as well, which is
yeah.
amazing. And then behind you, you had a couple of things, and I want to make sure I heard this right. There was the Steady Betty and the
Yes,
Goddess Mat. So did I hear those names
you
right?
did.
Right.
So the Steady Betty, this is like ancient history. It is just here, I'll pull it up for you. It's probably like 20, 30, maybe longer old. So it's like a piece of metal that's got tricot kind of on either side, and it's just meant to keep your cutting mat from slipping. So it really is Steady Betty. It's still got the little label on it. So I put that underneath my wool
Mm-hmm.
so that when I put the wool on the very sophisticated TV tray, it doesn't wiggle.
Right.
Right. So that's the first off. So that's my makeshift ironing board back here, which is
Steady
really
Betty.
handy. And
Mm.
then I have two different things that I use for pressing. One is a silicone mat. And that's great for making sure it stays put because it doesn't slide. But when I'm making like large things of fabric, like the one stuck to it right now, is a goddess sheet. This one's Teflon. So the stuff can slide a little bit better on it, but it's nonstick.
Mm.
So yeah.
Amazing. And you can iron on those.
Oh yeah. So and sometimes if I am in that mode where I'm being really lazy and have not trimmed my fusible down really well, I'll put one on like the silicone mat and then I will put this one over it. So when I heat it, the stuff doesn't get on my iron.
Oh, yes.
So then
Oh,
I just use literally sitting right over here, a very sophisticated, you know, scrunchie just to wipe the fusible off of the silicone mat or the other mat. Yeah, I'm very, very high tech here. And to clean my iron, I use magic erasers. Make sure your iron's cool when you do it though.
right.
So magic eraser and water gets most of the fusible right, or your starch user gets them right off without that nasty smell.
Just amazing tips here. So I'll put links to all these things in the YouTube video notes. But you also you're so practical when it comes to the containers that you use to keep things in. I know you were talking about like gift boxes and salad containers and so on. It looked like that salad container had some, excuse me, really tiny scraps in it. So I
Yeah.
wanted to ask, like, what do you keep? What's too small?
So the salad container with the really tiny scraps, that's probably like the off chance of how small I keep them. That is from my Forget Me Not quilt, which was I made in honor of Alzheimer's, and my mom died of Alzheimer's as well as my mother-in-law and my father-in-law. So it's near and dear to my heart. So I kept all the little pieces because I'm going to make a crumb quilt to kind of go with that.
Oh,
So
lovely.
that's why I kept those. It was from a very special quilt.
Mm.
Normally, if I'm in a bored mood where like there's a really good movie on and I feel like I must be doing something productive because I'm one of those people who can't sit still or I'll eat. So
Yeah.
so to prevent, me from just chowing on chips, I'll sit there and I will if I've got little scraps, like I've got a little bin full of like 1-inch scraps for my postage stamp quilt that someday when I'm 100 I'll make. Um Otherwise, if they start getting like weird shapes and stuff, it's like, okay, I can't do this. And I know some people will keep them for like pet quilts and stuff, but especially if they've got a lot of fusible on the back and stuff, it's just, eh. So my usual rule of thumb is, if it's like about a 2.5-inch square, which I have one sitting over here somewhere, but if it's about the 2.5-inch square, to me, that's big enough that I'll keep it because if I'm doing like little quilts like the ones you can see over here, it's just, oh, that's the perfect size. And then I don't have to worry about anything. So I do color sort them though, to make it easier to find, which is why I have all those bins there.
Yeah, I love that.
That was, and they fit perfectly under the long arm. I was like,
That's wonderful. Yeah. I know it was fascinating watching you kind of squish around the back of the long arm and see all those. But everything is just so organized. You've got that whole dresser full of notions. Like, how long have you been collecting all those?
So that dresser was my son's when he was little. He's now moved out and has his own house. But that buy one, get one or the 50% off coupon, how long did that go on with Joanne's? Like 20 some years.
So then, yeah. And Michael's is fairly similar as well.
Yeah. So, well, it turned out, when I first started quilting, you think you need every ruler until you realize you really only use probably like 6 of them. The ones I use the most are the quilting squares because I do a lot of, blocks and it's like, cool, I'm just going to trim this down to the blocks. Occasionally I use some of the other specialty ones, but I have everything from 2.5-inch to 15.5-inch. Those are the ones I use a lot. But the notions, I started out more doing embroidery work first. And so beading and lace work and stuff like that was always something there. So that dresser started out holding all my cross stitch materials and the beads. And then I started adding quilting stuff to it. And it took the place of, like the 50 little shoe boxes full of stuff I had. So now it's all in one convenient spot. Still some of the shoe boxes are in there, but at least it's now organized.
Amazing. I know. What a fabulous system to have. And you've got your threads, and of course we saw your mum's threads that you'd inherited. And
that was incredible.
And is that
she was amazing. She made something for everyone, but she did embroidery. So she had this big embroidery machine, which is the one that is right now sitting under a bed in another room because I haven't had the space to set it up. It's, and I have to learn how to use it because embroidery machines are a whole different animal.
Oh yeah. Especially if it's one of those complicated ones with multiple colors and things like that.
It's the big epic,
wow.
Viking epic. It's the big one. And I'm dying to learn how to use it, but I have to like carve out like a month to just figure it all out.
And get the muscle memory and so on.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, finally, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned a sew along. And I don't want I'm sure people will be like, oh, what was this? And especially because it was words, is that right?
Yeah. So, I do a lot of fun stuff with Canva. And so I've been trying to teach people how to make their own words in Canva. So I teach a bunch of classes in that. But this one, it started out years ago. One of my first blog posts ever was a word collage that I'd made of quilting words. And it was meant just to be kind of like an icon on this. My most hit page on my website is the acronyms and definitions.
Oh, interesting.
Google tells me that. I'm like, oh, wow, everybody likes this page. But it has this like word collage on it. And I've had more requests over the years is that a quilt pattern? So this year I was like, well, with the Canva, I can now do it, and I figured out how to get it printed and everything, so it's easy. And so I was like, well, let's do a quilt along with it. So the quilt along's free. You do have to buy the pattern. And we meet every week on Wednesday from now for the next like 22 weeks, because there's a lot of words on this thing.
Wow.
And it's literally just one giant sheet here. If I can quick show you.
Yeah, absolutely. I know everyone will be interested.
This
Wow.
pattern.
Wow. And so you've got the whole panel printed out there, basically. Love it.
And it's all fusible applique. What we started with is, because we just started, literally, is to make a grid so that you know where, and there's a grid mark on the pattern, so you know where to put all your applique pieces. And that's where we are right now.
Amazing.
Yeah, so it's all fusible applique, and maybe playing with some of the fun stitches you have on your machine. But for me, it's a good way to use up those bins of scraps that I have. So she's just like, oh, this piece fits perfectly over that word. That's the one I'm using.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. All right. Well, I will include a link to that in the notes as well. And finally, where can people find you?
So you can find me primarily on my website, which is Tourmaline and Time Quilts. We will drop the link. I'm not going to try and spell it. But you can find me there. And I'm popping up. I actually, if I'm allowed to say, I will be a teacher for Mancuso in one of their next schoolhouses in October.
Yes.
So, yeah. So I'm starting to venture out a little bit more, so people will see me more out and about, which is great.
Oh, wonderful. Well, yes, we'll have links to all of this in the notes underneath the video. But thank you so much. This has been fascinating.
Thank you so much. It was great to be here.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, I'm Roxane Lessa, the Art Quilters Coach, and welcome to my little studio. It's kind of a gray day here today, so I've got my extra studio lights on, and I'm going to show you around at some of my favorite things. Let's start with my all-important design wall here. Right now it's covered up with a curtain rod that I hung and just some simple curtain clips. And behind it is where all the magic happens. So let me go ahead and move that curtain aside. Gotta lift this up here. And just bring it all the way over to reveal my felt covered tiled design wall. Right now I have a piece that's just ready to trim and bind. I'm pretty much finished with the quilting. These design tiles are just attached to the wall with 3M strips. And down below, I have some books stored that I use all the time. And when I'm not using the design wall, I just cover it up with the curtain. And then over here, I have my fabric storage, my irons, and this is my ironing station that is on wheels. So I ordered these from Home Depot and then got the coaster wheels to put on the bottom to raise it up. And then on top is a big ironing board, which is covered with just the silver ironing board cover. Then I have a pad, and then this is the board itself, which you can order from Big Board. And then over here I have Teeny, who is my favorite studio pest friend. Teeny, say hi. Okay, she just said hi. Okay, so I have several ironing tools. I have my Oliso. I have a really old Panasonic, a slightly newer, I don't know what that iron is. Anyway, it's just a basic generic iron. Basic tools like freezer paper,
things for fusing. I store my wool batting down below, and some odds and ends and some bins. Now, if I want to get this all out of the way, watch out, Teeny, we're going on a little trip here. I'm just rolling it out, and I'll show you where a lot of my fabric storage is. And I got these from Target, and they're relatively inexpensive. And I arrange my fabric by color and value. Down below, I have some bins with scraps that I save. I don't save every single scrap. Up here are just some odds and ends. And up here are my hand dyes and my solids and more scraps arranged by color. And then some basic prints down below. And of course, I have other places where I stash fabric, but that's the majority of it. And then over on this side is my cutting table, which I like to leave open. I can drop both sides of it, and on top of it is a really old cutting mat that I bought years ago. And this is where I hold on to some scraps and some fabric that I've been working on with an actual project that I'm working on. And then over here, oh, this is my phone stand where I do some of my videoing. And then lights and clips. These little guys hold on to the edge of a quilt while I'm quilting it to take the weight off of my, and they move around, which is really cool. So I can put the quilt in there on the end, and it will take the weight off the table. And this is my beautiful Bernina 710, which is my workhorse. I love it. I use it for everything. And then I have an old sewing cabinet which can raise the machine up or down, which I love. Some extra storage. Storage for glue sticks and clips and scissors and rotary cutters and marking tools. This is just a tray that I ordered. And then over here is just my desk. Some of my thread, not all of it, but a lot of it, most of it. My desk. Some file cabinets, and then we're back to the design wall. And so that's pretty much it. I do have another closet over here where I hang some of my quilts that are finished. So I'll bring you over here just to show you real quick. This is a mess, so I'm warning you. I hang them using just like pants and skirt hangers. And this is my larger quilts on this side. So when I need a quilt for a show, I can just pull them off the hanger and get them ready for the show.
So, Roxane, thank you so much for joining us today and for showing us your amazing studio.
Thank you.
I have a big question for you, though. Is it always that tidy?
I didn't think it was that tidy, but yeah, I keep the fabric pretty well organized. I don't do well with a lot of clutter.
And
it's,
do you, sorry,
it's a
carry on.
smaller space, so it's like everything is in this one room. So if I don't keep it somewhat tidy, then I can't think.
I know a lot of people are the same. Obviously, I don't have that, although my ironing board is looking unusually clean at the moment because I was actually using it yesterday. Do you have a specific ritual? Like, do you put away everything at the end of the day, or are you waiting until the end of a project, or how do you do it?
I try to tidy up at the end of the day. Like, I have a basket on my table where I keep all the scraps, and I put the tools away in one, at least keep them in one location so that I know where they are when I come back to work.
Hmm.
Yeah, I like organization. I tend to open up things that have to do with studio organization because I can always get better at it. So,
Oh, right. I know. And there's always so many different articles all over the
yeah,
place. I know I'm a sucker on Pinterest when I see
yes,
those
same.
10 favorite things type
Yep.
articles. And I noticed you had 3 irons, which I thought was very impressive. How do you decide which one to use?
I actually have more. I keep adding to the collection. Well, the really old one that I keep, one day it will die. I don't know when, but I've had it for over 20 years. I use that for fusing because I don't care if it gets gunked up.
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So I use my oldest iron for that. And then somebody just gave me an iron one day and I just use that for regular, pressing bindings and ironing stuff.
Hmm.
I try not to get that one dirty. The little one, the Aliso, the mini one, is for I like to use that when I really need to get in tight or for doing curved seaming. It gets hot fast and I can get in there with a smaller iron.
They are
And
fabulous, those Alisos. Yeah.
yeah, and then I bought a big Rowenta steamer. It's a big heavy iron and it's got a big steaming um,
Like a tank or something.
reservoir.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I just started using that for blocking.
Oh,
Like when I really
interesting.
want some,
Yeah.
like I'll hover steam over it
Yeah.
and because it produces good steam without spitting.
Oh, yes. Yes, I know what you mean with that.
Yeah.
And someone told me once that the way to stop you occasionally will get like brown water and so on with steam irons is to empty them each
Yes.
time you finish using them and then refill it when you want to use it again.
Yeah. Well, I definitely have to with this one.
Mm,
I do. If I put any water in there, I always empty it because I don't
yeah.
want old water sitting in there. But
No, no. It's
yeah,
good.
that wasn't a cheap iron, but one of my favorite teachers swears by it. So I thought, okay, I'll bite. I'll bite. Why not?
And I know for some people it's a real luxury to have a lot of space or like a dedicated room.
Mhm.
Have you always been able to have a dedicated room, or was that something you kind of gained over time?
Mm. Well, originally when I started, I converted a master bedroom into my studio, and that was the best studio I ever had.
Mm,
But I owned the house that back then. Now I'm renting, and so I've had to either share the space with other people but right now I have this one of the it's a 2 bedroom and one of the bedrooms is my studio. So
right.
I
I
feel
do the
fortunate.
same thing. Yeah. No, I've got a studio office now in a two
Yeah.
bedroom, which is wonderful. Not having to have the office in my bedroom is a big advantage.
Yeah. Agreed.
And then we saw your beautiful thread racks on the wall as well. How much thread do you have? Because you said that that was some of it.
Not a lot, not a lot. What you saw is pretty much the majority of it. I have another small drawer with some neutral threads and bobbin threads.
Hmm.
Um, and another drawer with just some general thread I've collected, but very small compared to some quilters. Like I went to visit Hollis Chatelaine in her home studio years ago, and she has drawers and drawers and drawers and drawers,
Right.
every color you can think of. But I don't, I do quilt, but I have thread that I've had for years.
Mm,
I just, and I tend to go through certain colors faster than others, but
yeah.
I very rarely have to reorder. So I don't
And
know.
do you have a brand that you prefer to use? Or
Yeah, I really like Superior Threads
Mm,
a
okay,
lot.
wonderful. And then finally, you had your fabric very neatly stored there. How do you deal with scraps? Do you keep everything? Is there a minimum size that you keep? What do you do?
So I don't keep anything larger than or smaller than that.
Hmm.
you know,
What are we
pretty,
looking at? It's about an inch by 2 inches, was that? Something like that?
yeah, like 2 to 3 inches. If it's smaller than that, I don't keep it because I know I could make things with the smaller scraps, but I also know that I won't.
True.
So,
Yeah, very true.
and then some scraps are just such an awkward shape. I mean, what the heck are you going to do with it? So
Mm.
I do keep them in small bins, the scraps that I do keep.
I saw that. It looked like the bins were different colors as well.
Yeah, yeah, those are old toy bins that I saved from when my kids were little. Like I used to have a
Wonderful idea.
storage system and I never got rid of the little plastic bins. I thought, oh, these are great little organizers. So I kept
No,
them.
they are. And they seem to fit on those shelves really nicely.
I know. And the shelves just came from Target.
Brilliant.
I
Yeah,
know.
wonderful. Well, I'm going to have some links to some of the things that you've mentioned in the video notes.
Okay.
But thank you so much. Now, just remind people that are watching this, where can they find you?
Oh boy. You can find me I have a YouTube channel that I'm currently working on very hard.
And
So
I'll link to that as well
yeah,
in the show
that's
notes.
at Roxane Lessa. Um, and you can find me on Instagram. Same thing. I think it's at
Lovely.
Roxane
And
Lessa.
then if any guilds or groups are listening that would like to have you come in as a teacher
Yeah,
or a lecturer, do you have a website that they should go to?
absolutely. So my portfolio website also has an information page where there are, all kinds of links for classes and contracts and all
Wonderful.
that stuff. And that's just roxanelessa.com. And you
Perfect.
can
All
also
right.
see all my artwork and classes and everything is on there too.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing your space with us today.
Thank you, B.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.
And there we go. And that was it.
Awesome.
So
Okay.
that was
Great
wonderful.
questions.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'll cut this to go onto your video and I'm going to do them individually and also in threes so that
Okay.
people can
Yeah, I saw that.
choose how they want to watch them.
Okay. And was my video okay? Was it?
Yes,
Okay.
wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, it was really, she follows me from room to room, so it was inevitable she was going to show up in the video.
My Charlotte only follows me from room to room when she thinks it's dinner time, and I might possibly have forgotten that it was.
Uh-huh.
But that generally starts from about an hour before dinner time.
Yes,
so,
the pre-beg. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh goodness, the pain they go through. Yes.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, it's great to see you. Thank you so
Lovely
much,
to chat.
and see you again soon.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.